Dumelang Kibidua Tudu.
Nakibidua Mimi.
And today's conversation is inspired by the African culture, the African narrative.
Yeah.
Apparently there is the old and the new, so this conversation is really trying to unpack what those two really mean.
And if there really is a new narrative of Africa, or we're just falling into the old trap all over again, but this time with a new, prettier picture.
And I think when we talk about pictures, media has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Because I would like to think all of us, or most of us, Mimi, have media as the number one influence as to what works for us and what's trending, and
Yeah, I mean, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I know for sure that the introduction of color television, families, we sit around the television and we were being so influenced by Santa Barbara and Days of Our Lives. Kissing, for example, when you get to high school and you kiss a boy, where did you learn how to
My
kiss?
dad would probably send you to sleep.
Cruz Castillo and Eden are the ones who taught us how to kiss, but my point is that that's the level of influence that media has had on us growing up.
But I think also, Mimi, we also had a choice. It wasn't just one television station, right? And the likes and the scripts were so African. They'll talk about witchcraft and all those things. So I don't know if now, our parents also, because obviously we watch TV, could they also have an influence over how we consume media? Because I had a choice. The African stories, and you had more exposure to the Western.
Look, we watched the African stories, but I think it's just an issue of, how selective the messaging is that particular medium chooses. The storyline, what is it that they were selling? The storyline Santa Barbara, what is it that they were selling? And how did we receive it? And what are we doing about it right now?
Yeah.
In terms of us as Africans and the influence that those particular stories contributed to the way we live our lives.
So this is my thing about the influence of media. I personally think that we have a choice, because at the end of the day, you're the one holding it, and we've got your DSTVs that are now concentrating on really trying to focus more on local content. So right now, I think in this time and age, we do have a choice. It's not like back in the day when we were flooded with a lot of Western movies and all those things. I think we have a choice right now.
But speaking of choices, do we ever really have a choice? Because right now, Botswana, we are establishing our own local television, film, and just general media, broadcast media. We're podcasting now, YouTubing, like we are now. And I asked myself, who's funding all this activity? Because the narrative is set by the person with the pocket, right? So we have filmmakers, we have students who graduated from film school who want to produce content, but who will give them funding for the content that they want to produce that is purely African?
We must just work our asses off. Look at Connie Ferguson right now. There has been an issue in Botswana, rape, when the year started. And what she did, or the team did, within that script, is really try and focus on rape issues. Right now, I think it's the Queen. Every episode of the Queen has this call, toll-free line, rape. And it's been, I think, over 2 months that they've been on this same rape case, one of the, the characters. And she worked her asses off. She didn't wait for nobody to fund that narrative that she's selling right now.
Not that we know of.
Well, not that we know of, but...
Because is funding necessary in Africa? Do we require organizations like SAIS and OSISA and all these different organizations? Do we need them to be funding us? Is it a necessity, or is it just the default? Like, we're used to it. Because we can't answer whether or not Connie Ferguson and Ferguson Films was funded. We don't know.
I just like her.
Yeah, we all love her. She's our sister. Connie, we love you. But we don't know.
Come back home, Connie. Looking at how we've been influenced, how the Botswana works right now, the whole world works. Do you think we're attached to that old narrative? It's the narrative of the outside world telling us how Africa is. Do you think we're still attached to it?
I think we're so far away from it right now. Rona, as the millennials, the 1980-somethings, this generation, we are the ones who were built for these times because we have the benefit of having been around for the old narrative. We lived it. And now we are here in this new narrative. And from a local perspective, things are hard. The new narrative of Botswana right now globally is that Botswana is growing fast, becoming a high-income economy from a middle-income economy. Botswana's GDP, diamonds, what, those kinds of things.
You know what I hear when you're saying that influencer media? I don't believe in this GDP thing. Because just last week on our radio show, we had somebody come in and telling us what just about a few kilometers away from the diamond mine,
from
which is Joining, the way kids by Longpuri have, it's not kwashioko,
malnourished.
They're malnourished. So this GDP thing where it says we're a high-income country and then GDP means everybody's wealthy, I don't buy it. I think there should be another way that we are measured. Let's not even, maybe we shouldn't even use GDP to measure because, and I don't believe in it.
But us on the ground, what are we experiencing? As businesswomen, we've been told you cannot succeed unless lensa kate ya society or kate ya mad, you know. But this is what's happening on the ground. It's such a norm that people get a cut, which is corruption. But we've sort of blinded ourselves from seeing that this is actually corruption, guys. The corruption that we say we are the least involved in as a nation, right?
I think, secondly, I think we also, sorry to cut you off, do you think maybe it's a protective or mechanism sort of as the people on the ground, because we're trying to protect our nation, we then also follow that narrative, the GDPs, you know, the high income economy, the blah blah blah, you know, all the pretty stuff.
Personally, I have been upset with seeing people posting on their social media pages negative rhetoric about Botswana. This goes to show the influence of the media on everything and anything. Because Nakili Mimi, when seeing a Botswana posting the truth sometimes about us, putting it out there online, I'm just like, why do you need to be putting our laundry out there and telling the world the reality? No, guys, let's keep it in the WhatsApp group, and then the stuff that we put on in the sitting room, the stuff we put on Twitter and Facebook and what, let it be positive only, so that we can change the narrative.
But I think we say that because we're the privileged kids. I think we're the kids that when you report to Mamore, somebody hanchara sentle, Mom would act. So you find some people that don't have the privilege, that sort of 360 voice, they resort to places like Facebook and Twitter. You know what happened to January with the rape case? That was, a GABS thing where somebody was like, I've been trying to do this cops mapolisi thing, I'm not getting any help. They decided to tweet, and guess what? Everybody started coming out of that rape issue. So sometimes pressure. You are, putting out your laundry, but you know what? I've really tried to get an ear.
But I think the objective here, or the point here rather, is that the influence of the media on these two narratives, the old and the new, is so significant, because most, if not all, of what we know about Africa, I've only been to Tanzania, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and of course Botswana. But I've never been outside of the sort of SADC region. But I know what Rwanda is doing this and that, and in Zambia this is what's happening, and in Uganda they're doing etc. But it's only strictly from a media perspective. So the question becomes, how truthful really is the media in defining and sharing the narrative, the current narrative of Africa? Because
probably all that we've been saying here is because of what we've gotten from media. Again, the case study that I gave about, the rape thing that happened in Gen, it was all media again. So I'm probably saying it based on what the media was sharing with us. So we never know. But then, it means, how do we then learn, research, and find out more? How do we do that without depending on
with a grant? We need grants
to go on the ground and research.
This is the catch-22. So Naki Potahore. Okay. So I'm asking myself for the private sector. In fact, I'm not asking myself, because this is experience that we have. We have been in operation for 3 years as a business.
Okay, 3 in October.
3 in October, almost 3 years. And our mandate is to change the African narrative by getting brands to tell the Botswana narrative instead of us usurping the South African narrative, which is what we had been seeing happening. But they're not coming to the party. Brands, you're not coming to the party. We've literally been knocking at your doors for years now, and we're at a point where we're considering getting funding from global players.
You know why we end up resorting to global players? Because every time we knock at your offices, you tell us that the key message for the year comes from the headquarters. The headquarters
And where
in
is
South Africa,
headquarters?
and then the South African headquarters, they also get from the Swedish, etc., etc. So that's the struggle. It's actually made South Africa look cool, because now sister. So
Now we
we're tired of
want
that
to
too.
win lorries instead of thinking what is it on the local landscape that we can work towards achieving. This is how dangerous it is. It's that it's obviously part of the global agenda for us to all be one world and have one thinking and one religion and one currency and all those things. But are we supposed to lose ourselves and our own identity and culture? I mean, like a Botswana culture. Are we supposed to lose ourselves in moving towards this global space? Because the less or the more marketing managers and people who are in positions where they can actually redefine the Botswana narrative are not coming to the party, it means the more we will be looking outward to the global world to bring funding to us for us to do projects, which means then we will lose our identity and we will lose the narrative, because the people who give us the funding will be the ones to tell us how to tell the narrative.
And which only makes sense to me, because obviously Limna, when the outside audience comes in with money and says, well, okay, tell your narrative, but these are the terms and conditions, I'm gonna do it.
You're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And the question is, are we selling ourselves all over again? Because what is it that we have to give back in return for that funding?